Have you ever found yourself deeply attracted to someone, only to later discover that she wasn't the person you thought she was? Maybe at first she seemed charming, exciting, even irresistible, but then the cracks started to show. Her words didn't match her actions. Her choices made no sense, and slowly, you began to wonder, am I with someone wise, or am I with someone foolish? Welcome to Stoic Sage. Before we dive in, make sure you subscribe, like this video, and watch until the very end, because what I'm about to share could literally change the way you see women, relationships, and your love life forever. Today we'll uncover 6 signs of a stupid woman through the timeless wisdom of Marcus Aurelius and Stoic philosophy. But let's be clear, this isn't about mocking anyone. The word stupid here doesn't mean lack of intelligence, it means lack of wisdom, lack of self-control, lack of depth. And if you ignore these red flags, you may end up paying the price with your time, your peace, and even your soul. So let's begin with the first sign. 1. She lives for appearances, not for truth. Have you ever been in love with someone who seemed almost perfect on the surface? The way she smiled, the way she dressed, the way she walked into a room and captured everyone's attention. It felt like magic, didn't it? In those early days, you probably told yourself, I'm lucky, I found someone special. But then slowly you began to notice something. Her life was all about the show. It wasn't about love, it wasn't about truth. It wasn't about building something real. It was about appearances. Think back for a moment. Maybe she always wanted to go to the fanciest restaurants, not because she loved the food, but because she wanted to post it on Instagram. Maybe she wasn't interested in a quiet night with you, holding hands and talking deeply about life, but instead wanted to be seen at the parties, surrounded by attention, flashing cameras and shallow laughter. Does that memory stir something in you? If it does, you've seen the first sign of a foolish woman. She lives for appearances, not truth. Marcus Aurelius said it clearly. It is not what we say, but what we do that defines us. And yet a woman caught in foolishness says one thing but lives another. She'll say she loves you, but when you're down, when you're vulnerable, she won't be there. Why? Because love for her is not about being genuine, it's about being seen. Let me give you a story. Imagine you're planning a simple evening. You order her favorite food, light some candles, and prepare yourself for a night of intimacy, laughter, and connection. But when she arrives, her first words aren't, "Thank you, I missed you." Instead, "Is this what we're doing? Why didn't you book that new rooftop place everyone is talking about?" In that moment, your heart sinks, doesn't it? Because what you prepared came from love, but what she values is recognition. The truth of your relationship doesn't matter, only the appearance of it. And here's the painful part. When someone lives only for appearances, your love will always feel invisible. Because no matter how much effort you pour in, it will never be enough if it cannot be seen by others. But let me turn this back to you. Think of the one you loved most deeply. Did she ever make you feel that being with you in private wasn't enough? Did she crave the world's eyes more than your heart? If you've ever felt that sting, then you know exactly what Marcus Aurelius was warning us about. A foolish woman cannot see the beauty of truth. She cannot appreciate the quiet, unglamorous moments that build real love. She believes happiness is in the performance, the perfect picture, the perfect post, the perfect night out. But wisdom, true wisdom, understands that love is found not in appearances, but in the silent, ordinary, truthful moments where two souls meet without the need for an audience. And if you ignore this sign, if you mistake appearance for love, you'll wake up one day realizing you were in love not with a woman, but with a performance. 2. She has no control over her desires. Have you ever been in love with someone who was like fire, bright, exciting, impossible to ignore, but also dangerous if you got too close? At first, her passion felt intoxicating. She laughed loudly, lived boldly, and always wanted more out of life. You told yourself, this is the kind of woman who makes life exciting. But over time, you began to notice something. She had no control over her desires. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." But a foolish woman does not live by this wisdom. Instead, she lives as a slave to her impulses. Think about it. Maybe she couldn't stop shopping even when bills were piling up. Maybe she couldn't resist texting her ex, even though she promised you that chapter was closed. Maybe she craved constant attention from men online. needing compliments and validation to feel alive. And you, because you loved her, you probably forgave her again and again. You told yourself, she'll change. She'll learn to control herself. But deep down, each time she acted on her impulses, it chipped away at your trust. Let's bring this closer to your heart. Do you remember a time when you planned a future together? When you dreamed of building stability and peace, but she kept choosing chaos? Maybe you wanted to save money for a trip, but she spent it on clothes she wore once. Maybe you wanted a night of quiet love, but she chose the club instead. Do you remember how it felt to realize her desires came before your love? That's the wound of loving a woman who has no control over herself. Here's the truth. Desire is not the problem. Lack of mastery over desire is. A wise woman feels desire but chooses wisely. A foolish woman feels desire and obeys it instantly, without thinking of the cost. Marcus Aurelius lived surrounded by temptations, power, wealth, luxury, distractions, and yet he wrote constantly about discipline because he knew that a man or woman who cannot control themselves cannot be trusted with love, with responsibility, or with another person's heart. So let me ask you this. Has love ever made you feel like you were competing, not with another man, but with her impulses? Competing with her craving for attention, her hunger for material things, her endless need for excitement? That kind of battle is one you can never win, because you're not fighting for her love, you're fighting against her lack of discipline. The Stoics believe that true strength is self-mastery, and if she cannot master her desires, eventually her desires will master both of you. Your peace will be lost in her chaos. So learn this now. Passion without discipline destroys. Love without self-control collapses. And if you see this sign early, don't ignore it. Because no matter how strong your feelings are, a woman ruled by her impulses will always choose her desires over your love. She believes happiness comes from others. Have you ever loved someone so deeply that you felt responsible for their happiness? You tried to make her smile, surprise her with gifts, take her places, listen to her problems, yet no matter what you did, it never felt like enough. If that memory stirs something inside you, then you've already experienced this third sign of a foolish woman. She believes happiness comes from others. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself and your way of thinking." But a foolish woman lives the opposite of this truth. She looks at you as her happiness machine. If she feels lonely, it's your fault. If she feels insecure, you must fix it. If she feels bored, you must entertain her. At first, you might have felt proud. You thought, I'm the one who makes her smile. I'm her reason to wake up each day. But over time, that pride turns into pressure. Because no matter how much you give, your love, your energy, your attention, her happiness keeps slipping through your fingers. Think back. Do you remember a time when you planned something just to make her happy? Maybe a surprise date or a thoughtful message or a gift you saved up for. And for a moment, it worked. She lit up, she smiled, she hugged you. But the very next day, or maybe even hours later, the emptiness returned. She looked at you again as if to say, do more. Fill me again. That is the curse of a foolish woman who believes happiness is outside herself. She is like a cup with a hole in the bottom. You pour and pour, but the cup is never full. A wise woman, on the other hand, understands what Marcus Aurelius meant, that happiness is created inside her own mind, in her own way of seeing the world. She doesn't expect you to fix her mood, her life, or her identity. Instead, she shares her happiness with you, adding to your peace, instead of draining it. But when a woman depends on you for every drop of joy, the relationship becomes exhausting. You stop being her partner and you become her caretaker. And no matter how much you love her, that weight will crush you over time. So let me ask, have you ever felt this exhaustion? Have you ever sat alone after another argument, thinking to yourself, why isn't my love enough? Why does she keep blaming me for her unhappiness? If you felt that pain, you now understand why the Stoics taught that we must master our own emotions, because love cannot survive if one person treats the other as their only source of happiness. Remember this, a foolish woman takes happiness from you like a demand. A wise woman brings happiness to you like a gift. And if you ignore this sign, you'll spend your love life carrying someone who never learned to carry herself. For she blames everyone but herself. Have you ever been in love with someone who could never admit when she was wrong? No matter what happened, somehow the blame always found its way to you. Maybe it started small. She forgot an important date. But instead of saying, I'm sorry, I lost track of time, she said, well, you should have reminded me. She started an argument out of nowhere. But when things escalated, she sighed and said, "You always make me act this way." At first, you brushed it off. You told yourself, nobody's perfect. Maybe I really could have handled it better. But deep down, a little voice inside whispered, "Why am I always the one at fault?" This is the fourth sign of a foolish woman. She blames everyone but herself. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You always own the option of having no opinion. Things you cannot control are not your concern." A wise woman lives by this. She accepts her own choices, learns from her mistakes, and grows stronger. But a foolish woman refuses accountability. Her pride won't allow it. Do you remember how that felt? The endless arguments where she twisted the story until you doubted yourself? Maybe you even apologized for things you didn't do just to keep the peace. But what happened the next time? The same cycle repeated, didn't it? Let me paint a picture. Imagine she shows up late to dinner, hours after you've been waiting. Instead of saying, "I'm sorry for keeping you waiting," she says, "Well, if you cared, you would have come to pick me up." Suddenly her mistake becomes your fault, and in that moment, you feel invisible. Your effort, your patience, your love, it all disappears under her need to escape responsibility. Here's the danger. A relationship cannot grow without accountability. When one person always plays the victim, problems never get solved. Instead, they get repeated. And each time your trust erodes a little more, your love weakens and your peace disappears. A wise woman looks inward. She admits when she's wrong and works to do better, but a foolish woman points outward. She blames her parents for her attitude, her boss for her stress, her friends for her mistakes, and you, always you, for the cracks in the relationship. Now let me ask you, have you ever walked away from a fight feeling like you were the villain in her story, even though all you wanted was love? Have you ever sat in silence afterward wondering, why can't she just take responsibility just once? That is the trap of loving a woman who blames everyone but herself. You end up carrying both her mistakes and your own, while she carries nothing at all. And sooner or later you realize, you're not building a partnership, you're carrying a burden. Marcus Aurelius taught us that freedom comes from owning our minds, our actions, our choices. But a foolish woman will never know freedom, because she's chained to her pride. And if you stay too close, her chains will become yours. 5. She cannot handle the truth. Have you ever tried to be honest with someone you loved, only to watch your words turn into weapons against you? You spoke from the heart, not to hurt her, but to help her, and instead of listening, she became defensive, angry, or even cruel. That is the 5th sign of a foolish woman. She cannot handle the truth. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If someone can show me I am wrong, I will gladly change, for I seek the truth." But a foolish woman lives in the opposite spirit. She avoids truth like it's poison. Think about it. Maybe you gently told her, "I think the way you spoke to me was unfair." And instead of reflecting, she snapped back, "So now you're saying I'm a bad person?" Or maybe you noticed something harmful in her habits and tried to bring it up, only for her to twist your honesty into an attack. "You never accept me for who I am." Do you remember how that felt? You wanted to build a relationship on honesty, but every time you told the truth, it became a battlefield. Slowly, you stopped speaking up. You swallowed your feelings. You told yourself, it's easier to stay quiet than to deal with another explosion. But here's the tragedy. Love without truth cannot survive. Let me share a story you may recognize. Imagine you notice she's drifting away, less affectionate, less present. You ask, is something wrong? Are you unhappy? Deep down, you're inviting an honest conversation, hoping to fix what's broken. But instead of admitting what she feels, she rolls her eyes, changes the subject, or even accuses you of being insecure. The truth could have set you both free, but she couldn't face it. Why? Because truth forces growth. Truth forces responsibility. And for a foolish woman, it's easier to deny, to deflect, to blame, than to look in the mirror. A wise woman may not always like the truth, but she values it. She knows that even painful honesty is better than comfortable lies. But a foolish woman treats truth as the enemy. She builds her life on denial, on half-truths, on appearances. And the longer you stay, the more you realize you're not in love with a partner, you're in love with an illusion. Now let me ask you, have you ever felt that heartbreak? The moment you realized she didn't want honesty, she only wanted comfort? The moment you realized that your relationship was full of words but not of truth? Marcus Aurelius taught that the mind must be disciplined to accept reality, not escape it. And if a woman cannot handle the truth, she cannot handle growth. And if she cannot grow, your love will remain stuck, frozen in lies. fragile and destined to break. Remember this. Truth is not an enemy of love, it is its foundation. If she cannot handle truth, she cannot handle love. And if you ignore this sign, one day you'll wake up realizing you were building a future on sand. She fears silence and solitude. Have you ever been with someone who just couldn't sit still? The moment the room grew quiet, she reached for her phone. The second you suggested a peaceful evening at home, she rolled her eyes and begged to go out. To her, silence was uncomfortable, even frightening. That is the sixth sign of a foolish woman. She fears silence and solitude. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul." The Stoics believe that solitude is not loneliness but strength. It's the space where we meet ourselves, reflect, and grow, but a foolish woman runs from that space. Think about it. Maybe you just wanted one night together, no noise, no distractions, just two hearts reconnecting, but she couldn't do it. She needed the TV on, the music blasting, her phone buzzing, and when you asked, "Why can't we just enjoy the quiet?" she said, "Because it's boring." But here's the truth. Silence is never boring. Silence reveals. Silence uncovers. Silence forces us to face who we really are, and if a woman fears silence, it's usually because she fears herself. Do you remember those times when you sat across from her, wishing you could talk deeply about dreams, about life, about love? But every conversation was interrupted by notifications, gossip, or plans for the next night out? It felt as if the stillness between you was something she couldn't bear. That's because foolishness thrives on distraction. A woman who fears solitude often hides from the truth of her emptiness. Instead of filling her soul with reflection, she fills her schedule with noise. Instead of building inner peace, she chases outer excitement. And while that may look like fun at first, over time it becomes exhausting for you and for her. Let me paint a picture. Imagine you wake up one Sunday morning. You make coffee, open the window, and hope to share a slow, quiet morning with her. But she's already scrolling, already restless, already asking, "What are we doing today? Who are we seeing? Where are we going?" The moment feels stolen, not because she doesn't love you, but because she doesn't know how to love stillness. A wise woman understands what Marcus Aurelius meant, that peace isn't found in constant activity, but in the ability to be content within yourself. She knows that solitude is not emptiness. It's where love grows stronger. Because two people who are at peace alone can be at peace together. So let me ask you, have you ever been drained by her endless need for noise? Have you ever longed for just one quiet evening of real connection, but felt like silence was your enemy instead of your friend? If you have, then you know the truth. A foolish woman fears silence because silence shows her what she's missing inside. But if she cannot sit with herself, she cannot sit with you. And if she cannot find peace within, she will never create peace with you. Closing reflection. Marcus Aurelius didn't write about relationships the way modern self-help books do, but his wisdom cuts deeper than any dating advice, because at its core, love is about character. A foolish woman destroys peace. A wise woman strengthens it. So now I'll ask you, look at your own relationships, your own experiences. Have you ever seen these signs before? And if you have, are you brave enough to walk away? Or will you ignore them and hope things change? Remember, Stoicism isn't about controlling others, it's about controlling yourself. It's about choosing wisely who you allow into your life and guarding your peace above all else. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.